Welcome back to the Your Golf Performance Podcast. We're joined today with Mike Romatowski. He's a fitness expert, someone that I've followed for many, many years now on social media, and I'm intrigued by what he does. So we're getting him on for a chat. Mike, thanks for joining.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I think some of the stuff that I've seen you do over the last few years, as I said, is quite intriguing. Can we get your background story before we get into anything?
Yes. So basically, I'm from the world of fitness. Just started in personal training anyone and everyone. And pretty much about 24 years ago, right about year 2000, I met a guy named Greg Rose who lived in my same town in Maryland, and he was a chiropractor. And I just happened to meet him, and he had made an interesting choice where he was only going to work with golfers in his practice.
Yeah.
And I got started a little bit late playing golf, in my late 20s, but I was a really just passionate golfer. And so I thought it was cool. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to do the same thing in my fitness. I'm just going to work with golfers. And was lucky enough to work in his clinic because he had a hitting area and he had a little exercise area. So just coincidentally, this was right when he was designing what became TPI. Back
That's
then,
crazy.
it was called the body swing connection back then, but it became TPI. So I was lucky to be able to observe him and learn how the body really dictates movement and dictates the way everybody swings. And so from that point on, I've only worked with golfers.
How did that go? Did you have some weeks where you've gone, geez, I'm crazy here for just isolating myself just with golfers, or was it pretty well adapted 24 years ago?
I think because I was such a passionate golfer, and pretty much all of my friends were golfers by that time. And so it wasn't business wise a rough transition at all because that had become my world. Uh, I did have a lot to learn. Looking back, I thought at the time that I knew a lot.
Yeah.
And then that experience showed me that there was much, much more that I could learn to be better at what I do. So it was luck. I didn't even know him, even though he lived in my town. I wasn't aware of him. And I think he saw something that I wrote and he called me and he said, hey, my name's Greg Rose. I'd like you to come over. I want to show you some things that you're wrong about. And I'm
Wow.
thinking, okay. But he was right that I was wrong,
Yeah.
So I learned a lot. And uh,
It's crazy
it
to
was,
think, 25 years later, it's like this is the guy that invented TPI, and you were there for its infant days, I guess.
yeah. And really, it was just luck. And at the time, I had my own fitness workshops that I was teaching. And he was teaching what was called the body swing connection. So just for fun, we started scheduling our workshops in the same towns at the same time.
Yeah.
And so we would travel together, and I would teach my first day, and he would teach his first day, and then we would switch. And I would
Yeah.
teach his second day, which was the exercise day, and he would teach my second day. And we just did it for fun. But again, I just learned so much because the guy has a mind like a warp speed computer that never
Mm,
stops. And
yeah.
so he was many levels above me in his knowledge, and I just was able to learn a lot and be able to take that forward along with stuff that I learned from other people too. So yeah, it was good fortune.
And then sort of how did it go from, obviously then focusing more on speed? Where did the speed part come into that?
That came when I moved from Maryland to Texas, which was 2017. I came here basically starting over again. I moved to try to help out with a family member's health condition. And so I was really just starting again, starting over from scratch. And in Texas, again, I got really lucky. I came upon a space that I could lease, a large indoor space that I could lease at a pretty affordable price. And it was more space than I had ever had before. And it was also right at the time where everybody was realizing that the modern game is a distance game.
Yeah.
And so I just decided, I'm starting over anyway. Why don't I just roll with this?
Yeah.
And so formed Mach 3 speed training. And again, I think I just was lucky with my timing. It was just good timing because the modern game is different from the old game. And I'm old enough to have been brought up with, I learned golf with persimmon woods and balata golf balls.
Yeah.
And we were taught from a standpoint of rhythm and tempo, which is great. And the game was very much that back then, and more it was more of a shot making game. You could move the ball,
Yeah.
uh, but the modern game and the modern equipment really dictates that the farther you can hit it off the tee, the better. And if you can't do that, you are at a huge disadvantage. And so, again, like I think I was just lucky with my timing, and it took off really fast. And I still don't know why it took off so fast, but I just, went with it and just was able to do really well with it. And, you know, just sticking with it now because everyone has realized that it's a distance game now.
It is crazy. You just said something there that resonated with me. Like, I remember the lessons that I had as a kid. It was about balance. Don't
Mhm.
just swing within yourself. And it's funny now because, we have young kids come through and we're kind of like, hey, can you hit this one as hard as you can? I almost want to see you falling over that you're trying to swing it so hard. It's just crazy. Some of the golf coaches from the 70s and the 80s would be turning over in their grave now going, why are you telling people to do this? But, um, you know, how did you're obviously doing your fitness stuff in Maryland, you moved to Texas. How did Mach 3 come about? Like with all the, the big things that you're swinging around and all that, where did that come from?
Yeah. Uh, Another guy that influenced me, nobody knows this guy. He was an old time strength coach named John Brookfield. And he was like a strongman type guy.
Hmm.
And he trained with heavy battle ropes and with chains. And I don't even remember how I knew of him, but I watched a lot of his videos and I was like, this is really cool. So I would make some rudimentary tools like I would get heavy chains and I would attach every kind of weight training handle to them, like different kinds of lat pull bars and rowing stuff. And we would sling these chains around, outdoors, like in a park or a field or whatever. And so it was just really good power training. And then when I moved here, again, a strange occurrence really, I met three high school girls who were good players here and they all got Division I scholarships and they went off to their new schools and they all got hurt within the first week because they're going to a university that has like the football guy training the golfers.
Yeah, of
So
course.
he has them doing squats and deadlifts and cleans and things that they've never done, and they all got hurt. None of them even played a match in their freshman year. And I thought, this just should never happen. Because there's a way to work out that's more conducive to golf and the injury risk is way low. And so I started making a new batch of tools. Some of them in our gym, we do use chain in our gym,
Hmm.
but that's not really an easy thing to sell and to ship. So I also looked for ways to use rope, various types of rope, and which is much more user friendly and really just as effective for a golfer. So that's how the tools kind of came about. And then the main thing was a concept that I came up with called speed out in front. And that concept is what enables everybody to succeed in gaining clubhead speed. And so the message I was really trying to deliver is it's actually not hard to gain speed. It's easy. The catch is going to come in if you just tell everybody swing as hard as you can,
Hmm.
because that's what throws the club face offline.
Hmm.
So if there's a way that you can speed up, but it actually feels like less effort, what's going to happen is you'll not only gain speed and hit the ball further, but at least as straight or straighter than you were before, because really it's a matter of efficiency. So you have efficiency and then you have exertion or effort.
Yep.
And exertion and effort, when you try to maximize them, you maximize them too soon. And again, that's what throws the club face offline.
Mm.
So if you switch the emphasis from anything that you're doing in the backswing and transition to understanding that destination drives movement. So you have to shift your focus out in front of the ball to the finish area of the swing. If you're trying to be faster there, it actually improves all your biomechanics and you're more efficient. Think of it this way: you move the way you move because you're going somewhere.
Yep.
So when you do
It,
that, now you get the distance and better biomechanics.
we're welcoming a new partner to the Your Golf Performance Podcast. This will be a performance analytics partner, Circles, or Draw More Circles as you may know them, the ultimate tool for tracking your golf progress. Whether you're a junior golfer, college player or coach, the everyday club golfer, or a golf professional, Draw More Circles allows you to easily track and analyze your performance like never before. With their innovative performance analytics, you'll get insights into your game that go far beyond just the scorecard. From strokes gain metrics to detailed reports on every aspect of your play, you can pinpoint exactly where to focus your practice to improve faster. One of the best features that I've found with Circles is the course management tool, which will take your physical data to help you navigate around the course smarter. They're actually taking your stats that you've entered into the system and helping you strategically play a better game of golf. Plus, it's perfect for coaches who want to keep track of their players' development and offer data-driven advice. If you can't measure it, you're guessing. The best part is that as you are one of my listeners, you'll get exclusive access to their services through our partnership. These prices are too hot to mention, and I'll need you to email me. My email address is brentdalegolf@gmail.com, or feel free to message me on Instagram at brentdalegolf. We welcome Circles to the team. Are you sort of, I guess I'm trying to visualize this in my mind, but a lot of people that just dive into speed training end up maybe coming out of it and they steer that, well, the club may end up way behind them and they sort of get stuck and start missing the ball way right or flipping it with their hands. Is that tying back into what you're talking about with that speed in front?
Yes, absolutely. So if you take all of the better players that have ever been in our gym, and so in our gym in 6 years, we've had about 2,000 golfers come in. And of course, some of them are very good players or elite level. And so as they're hitting, and we're measuring speed, if they have a ball that is a mishit or is slower than their normal speed, we'll say, what did that feel like? They'll always say the same thing. They say, I tried too hard too soon. So, in other words, if I say to you, swing as hard as you can, you're going to max your effort very quickly in transition.
Yeah.
Once you've done that, you can't reassemble it again by the time the swing is over with, because all this is happening in a second or a second and a half or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So, what you want to think about is, can I let myself feel like I'm faster past the ball, after the ball? And what that does for you is it enables you to get to the finish area of the swing with a lot more energy. And what I always tell people is, look, go to the driving range and watch everybody hit, because you're going to see crappy players and bad swings and mid-level, and then you'll see some good players and some good swings, and you'll see what the difference is, that good players are strong finishers and they have more energy still alive past the ball. Bad players use it all up before they get to the ball, right? And
Yeah.
so it's a very clear thing when you're watching a lot of different golfers. And so the challenge then is, can I create some tools where the tool will be the teacher? Because I really don't want to teach you anything. First of all, I'm not that interested in the mechanics of the swing. I do understand them, but it's not like any kind of fascination of mine.
Yeah.
What I want for you is something that you don't have to intellectualize. so that you're not trying to figure out, okay, I need to be here and then I need to be there and then there. And so you've got all these little parts to the swing and then you're trying to put them together because really there's no parts. To your brain, there's no parts. Your
Hmm.
brain only senses the movement as a whole. So I want all the tools that we use just to enhance that feel for you so that you can learn it as a feel and not by trying to analyze it technically.
Have
Uh,
you, have you found, you know, how some people, I'm speaking as a golf coach here, but you'll have some people that turn up, let's just say two 30-year-olds, right? And one of them just moves beautifully. The club's on plane, they move, they sequence really well. And then you'll have one that looks super mechanical. They're trying to hit every position. Have you found that your system really helps, I guess, with the flow of the golf swing for that person that might be uncoordinated?
yes. And it's always been a fascination of mine. You know, I've traveled a lot over the last 6 years, so I've met some great instructors, and I've had an opportunity to watch a lot of people teach. And even with the best instructors, when I watch them, a lot of times I'll be standing there going, "Wow, there's such an easier way to do that."
Mm,
So let's take any sports motion. It doesn't even matter. It could be like a tennis forehand, how to throw a right cross, how to shoot a free throw in basketball. So let's take that example. Let's say you're teaching me how to shoot a free throw. I want you to show me the finish first.
mm,
First thing I want to know is where do I finish? So I want you to put me there. And then I'll back out of it and then I'll go back to it and I'll back out. And in no time at all, I'll have reverse engineered the path and the movement. And you didn't teach me to do anything. You didn't say, okay, I need your feet 18 inches apart, your hips flexed at 38 degrees, your knee, you didn't do any of that. You said, look, here's the finish. So put me there. Now back out of it. Now go back to it. Back and forth, back and forth. And that way, so this goes back to destination drives movement. Once you've showed me where to finish, then I'll just move to there. And
yeah,
I'll do it in an unencumbered way because I'm not trying to intellectualize it. And
I love it.
that's the easy way to go. And not everybody likes easy, like not every golfer likes easy and not every instructor likes easy because some people feed off of the intellectual challenge of analysis. So I do recognize that, but I can also tell you that's the hard way to go to learn a movement. So if you're going to teach
Completely
me how
agree.
to throw a right cross, put me at the end of that right cross where my fist theoretically is coming out the back of the guy's head. Put me
Mm.
there. You've
And
just
then,
given me 99% of what I need to know where
mm,
I'm going. So it works in golf too, and that's why we succeed because the tools teach people that feel. We do a lot of drills that actually start at the finish. They go in reverse and then back to the finish.
mm,
It's a really easy way to teach. It's a really easy way to learn. It teaches efficiency because what is efficiency? Is going to from point A to point B more quickly. That
yeah,
is efficiency. So efficiency equals speed. Speed equals efficiency. You're just making it easy on me if you'll take this route.
yeah.
Um, there are golfers that I call them Mr. What About.
Oh,
You can show them the method and they can succeed spectacularly, and then they'll still go, well, what about this? Well, what
they want
about
to
that?
dive. They want to dive deeper into it. Simple's
Yeah,
not
they
not how
have
their
that
brain works.
intellectual curiosity, and so what I had to understand is, look, that actually enhances their enjoyment of the game. To take that deep technical dive is something that makes the game more attractive to them.
Yeah,
So I had to avoid saying, "Don't ask me that question." Uh,
you have to adapt your coaching style.
so I've relied a lot on coaches around the country here who use Mach 3 extensively and are more higher tech than we are, in the equipment that they're using, whether it's swing catalyst or force plates or TrackMan and whatever. whatever they're using, they actually send us data and they say, look at this, look at the way this pressure changes, and look at the kinematic sequencing here. And it's very cool because it's very obvious that the tools do create better biomechanics. My choice as a fitness guy is really not to teach that way, but I do respect that there are a certain percentage of instructors and golfers who thrive off of that knowledge. And
Hmm.
we've actually recently done a lot of that kind of technical analysis that we're going to put forth next year so that those people can see exactly how the patterns do change with our tools.
Your golf ball is the most technologically advanced, or it's not. Your golf ball is either the most consistent, or it's not. It's the most trusted, or it's not. The fact is, it's either Titleist, the best performing golf ball in the world, or it's not. Prove it for yourself. Titleist, the #1 ball in golf. What will you play?
I love it. What age would you implement this for, say, a junior golfer? Or when would it fit into the overall development of a golfer?
Yeah, that's a great question. So in our classes in our gym, we have had kids as young as 7 and 8 years old. They don't make linear progress with speed training. They think it's fun, but their numbers will be all over the place. And so with the youngest kids like that, their workouts are what I call run, jump, and scream.
Hmm.
They love to run races. They love to do relay races. They love to time each other. They love to measure how far they can jump. They love to build their own obstacle courses. And so we let them do that and have kind of a rowdy type workout. We might let them hit a little bit at the end, but we don't emphasize the speed numbers at all. That happens at about the age of 10. At 10 years old, usually a kid who's fairly adept at golf or at least middling athletic, they'll be able to make linear progress in their speed.
Yeah, okay.
And really, everybody thinks it's fun. I mean, that's there's no more fun way to train than to train for speed, because you're just always trying to beat what you did before, and it's a pretty clear number. We only measure club head speed and ball speed. Sometimes now we'll also look at smash factor, but only out of like curiosity. We're really looking at club head and ball speed being the most important.
Is there a certain point throughout your session that you measure? Do you measure at the start and the end, or do you measure at the end of each session to sort of track how it's progressing? Is
Yeah.
there a
So,
is there a
mhm.
big difference between the start and the end? Are they tired? Like, how does that all work out?
Yeah, it's a very consistent pattern. So really, what we're doing in Mach 3 after the initial session where we introduce the concept of speed out in front, this is a workout system. So they're coming in to work out, but we measure every time. So because we do have a hitting area at the gym. So we're hitting 5 measured balls at the halfway point of the workout and 5 or maybe even 10 at the end every single time. Because what we found is if speed is what you want, then you chase it relentlessly until you get it. You don't want to go like, okay, today is December 8th when my program starts, and I'll do this program until January 30th, and then I'll measure again. Because the problem there is when you measure again 6 weeks from now or whatever, you might not have a great day. It's just like golf.
Yeah,
So let's say you're a +4 handicap. Well, you're not going to go out and shoot 64 or 66 every day. You're going to have some 74s and 75s. That's just how it is. You didn't have a good day.
yeah.
So in speed training, we want to measure 2 or 3 times a week so that we can see the big picture and so that a slower day doesn't have much significance when you look at the big picture. So we're measuring all the time, all the time. In the beginning, most golfers will be faster at the midpoint of the workout and they'll be slower at the end because they're tired.
Yeah.
But a good gauge of when they've turned the corner is when they're faster at the end. And that'll happen in about 6 or 8 weeks. All of a sudden, they'll always be faster at the end.
And that's just what, due to better conditioning?
It's due to better conditioning, yes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay.
Now,
And
speed training is interesting because you actually don't want to be tired. Okay,
yeah.
like you've grown up working out and playing sports, and the mindset is the harder I push myself, the better. But in speed training, that doesn't work because when you're tired, you're slow,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
So the object actually, it's kind of like the object of our training is how good can I feel and how great can I perform.
At the end of a workout.
I don't want to go how tired can I make myself, because then we'll just go run up and down that hill 10 times and you'll be tired, but you'll
Yeah.
also be slow. So it is because of conditioning and also because of just the relentless pursuit of the speed. The pattern gets so strong that you're able to achieve your highest speeds even at the end of a workout.
And you're getting everything firing correctly. And yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And the competition part of it too. You know, we want everybody competing with themselves and competing with the other people in the class. So a lot of times at the end of the class, we'll form them into teams and we'll have little team competitions because it makes it more fun, but also it keeps the focus where it needs to be.
Yeah.
So if you take a little jump from this, so you look at the two guys in men's professional golf who are the longest. We'll leave Bryson out of this because, to my knowledge, they don't have stats in live golf about driving distance. If they do, I haven't seen them.
Yeah.
So let's take uh, well, no, let's take Bryson actually, because we know how far he hits it just from when he plays in the major. So let's take Bryson and let's take Patrick Harrington.
Yeah.
Those are the two longest guys in their respective fields, right? Why are they the longest? Because they're the ones that said, "I am going to do this."
Hmm.
You know, when Bryson was on the PGA Tour, he said, "I'm going to be the longest guy on this tour." Patrick did the same thing on Champions Tour. Patrick Harrington has the largest distance advantage of any male golfer professional. He's 29 yards longer than the average Champions Tour drive.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so he's 50% of the Champions Tour gives up 27 to 64 yards to Patrick. They're not going to beat him.
No.
It's too much. They're not going to beat him. So again, why is he the longest? Because he's the one that said, I'm going to be the longest. And so in our gym and in your quest for speed, you have to be that decisive, really, to get your max results. You have to say, I am going to gain 20 yards, or I'm going to gain 10-mile-an-hour clip head speed. And you can do it, but you have to be a dog. You have to
Hmm.
stay after it. You can't just go, yeah, I'm going to do speed training once a week, and in 3 months I'll measure again and see if anything happened.
It's not going
That's
to
not
work.
going to work.
Well, that sort of leads to my next question, which is, what common misconceptions do you think golfers have around building speed? Would it be that one that they could just part time do it rather than full time?
Well, there's two fears that keep people from doing it. One is they think they're going to get hurt, and one is they think they're going to hit the ball crooked. And in Mach 3, it's there's no history of golfers getting hurt because of the way we're training, where all the tools, all the exercises are occurring within the general parameters of the swing with tools that are easy on the body. So the chance of injury just isn't there, really. In terms of hitting it crooked, again, we're using an approach of efficiency and not maximum exertion. So what should happen and what usually happens is you should hit it straighter as well as further because you're more
Yeah.
efficient. Efficiency is the main component of accuracy. So
Love it.
those, within one workout, I think the golfers that come to us can see, okay, I'm not going to get hurt. I just went up 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 miles an hour in my first time.
Hmm.
And this doesn't feel like anything that can hurt me. So let's roll with this.
I reckon there's a lot of players, even just I'm finding with the students that I coach, that are leaving a lot of miles per hour in the tank.
Yeah. So it's true because in our gym, senior golfers do better than anyone else.
Mm.
those are the guys that were always told, don't do this. You're going to get hurt. It's going to ruin your swing. It's going to ruin your game. It's not worth it. So they've never even explored this because,
Yeah.
again, they're taught on a foundation of rhythm and tempo, and then they're told not to try to hit it further. So they've never tried. So the whole reason we succeed is because everybody's going to walk in the door with speed in them that they already have the potential for. They're
Yeah.
just not trying to access it. So this is not something where I need to change your body right away. I just need to show you how to do this because you already have it in you.
So a lot of your students would be, you're not teaching the technical components of a golf swing, right? You're getting them to move more functionally, which will improve it anyway. But are you aligned with like some coaching academies or anything where you work side by side? How are the students, particularly say the juniors, how are they putting together that, your staff plus their technical? It becomes a bit of a full-time job, right?
Yeah. So one principle by which I work is that if this golfer has an instructor, I do not want to conflict with anything that the instructor is teaching them, or I don't want um, to become a problem from a technical sense, and which is why we don't teach the swing. We
Yeah,
really don't. There's
it's
no
perfect.
language in Mach 3 that is swing instruction.
Yeah,
What I'm going to say is, look, we're measuring two things here: club head speed and ball speed. And I do ask them. I ask everybody right away, "Who's your instructor?" Usually, I'm going to know the instructor, and I'll
yeah,
say, "Okay, that's great. I just want you to know that I'm not teaching you the swing. I
yeah,
want to support whatever the instructor's doing." Now, if the golfer doesn't have an instructor, I'm smiling inside because I know that this is a great opportunity to be able to really ramp up the speed without worrying that I'm going to conflict with somebody else's information. But I
yeah.
think that, my reputation is definitely, I do not teach the swing. That's not what we're all about.
It's more
And
about being a part of the team, right?
absolutely. Yeah.
So I've had him on as a guest before. He's one of Australia's best golf physios, Matt Green. He I sent him a text obviously yesterday, as I mentioned to you off air, and he said I really like his stuff. Trains good athleticism and movement patterns. He was sort of just saying, carry over from session speed wise to swing, short and long term. Like how are they transferring it to full swing mechanics as well?
The golfer or the instructor?
The golfer.
Yeah.
Like, are you finding that they can, they might learn this speed? And I know you've mentioned the out in front, more about the finish position, but it translates quite easy for them into their full swing.
Yeah. Because again, we're just building greater efficiency. So if you look at it this way, with all the analytical equipment we have now, let's just say there's 100 things you can measure in the swing.
Yeah.
My question is, how many of those do you actually want to teach the golfer to try to do on purpose? I think the answer is zero or maybe one.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is all I need you to do is have more energy out in front. So if
Yeah.
I ask any of our golfers, whether they're kids or middle-aged or seniors, tell me about your swing. I only want to hear I finish strong or I'm really fast out in front. That's all I want to know. That's
Yeah.
all I want to hear them say. So we do know, again, that biomechanics and impact alignments get better from using the concept of speed out in front. But it isn't really a focus of mine because I just want those numbers to go up, the speed numbers. So I'm just
Yeah.
not going to get into an analysis of the swing. Sometimes, again, you get the Mr. What about person. What about this? What about that? What about this? And, my job is to say, look, when you're with me, those things are not important because you
Mhm.
just went up 8 miles an hour. Like that's a
Yeah.
win. And that's all I'm trying to do for you.
I'm going to be Mr. What about for a second. Have you noticed, and you might not know the answer to this, you might not have this switched on with your launch monitor or whatever. Have you noticed as they get better and better at the movement pattern that Mark III teaches, is there a specific club path that it might produce?
Yes. So
Is it more left?
in general, the path of delivery will be within the realm of shallow from the inside.
Mm-hmm.
The exit path will, in general, be more left for a right-handed golfer.
Yep.
The kinematic sequence will improve. The transition will be much more efficient. If you really want to start taking videos and screenshots, arm structure at impact is a phenomenal improvement normally. Especially, we have a new tool, relatively new tool called the Iron Whip,
Hmm.
and it's mind boggling the improvements in arm structure. Ironically, the only golfers who it doesn't help are pros because they already have great arm structure and, hands slightly ahead, a little bit of forward shaft lean type thing. So there's nothing to fix with them, and it actually maybe take them too far into
So
where it
you're
looks.
talking, say, from a face-on view, it's getting them a bit more, like you're
Yeah.
saying, forward shaft lean. What
Mhm.
about from down the line? Is it would their left arm be more on top of their right, or are they sort of neutralizing it a little more as they're getting more left path?
More like from a down the line view, if you just look at the trail arm configuration,
Yeah.
this and the shaft orientation to the trail forearm type
Yep.
thing is going to be much better because really our tools can't be swung steep over the top. You just
Mm.
can't do it. They don't work that way. You
Yep.
could try to do it and you could do it on purpose, but it would feel so horrible that you would only do it once,
Yeah.
and you'd never do it again. So uh, from down the line, that's what you'll see is just I call it a much better striking position.
Would that be if you froze it on the way down, where the shaft would be lined up with the trail
Yes.
forearm? I love
Yes.
that position. Oh,
Yeah.
that's a position I'm looking for in just about, depending on the golfer. Sometimes if someone's got really bad knees or legs, I it's hard sometimes to get there. I mean, you can correct me here, but there are some of the older students that I coach that have horrible knees or horrible hips, and I feel like they actually need to be a little steeper because it's their power source. It's coming from
Mhm.
up above. Am I wrong there?
No, you're not wrong at all.
Okay.
Um, and again, so there's a big difference. If you talk to, let's say, you talk to recreational golfers, and then you talk to instructors, and then you talk to tour players. So
Yeah.
there's three different groups there, and you're talking about the same subjects or asking them the same questions. You're going to get some very different answers
Hmm.
because tour players, who are the ones playing for a living, they know what's important and what's not. And they know uh, what things can appear in a certain golfer's swing that might classically be defined as a flaw, but in reality, for that golfer, it's actually what makes it work.
Yeah.
So tour players, they do not view swings the same way that golfers or instructors do. They're looking, they want to know what's the ball doing.
Hmm.
They don't care what the swing looks like. They might care what their own swing looks like, but when they look at a bunch of other golfers, they'll be like, "Well, yeah, he's steep, but so what? Look at how good he hits it."
Yeah.
So they would tend not to change you, whereas an instructor, some instructors might try to change things that they don't need to change. And I'm really glad that that's not the world that I'm coming from
Yeah.
because my job's easy. I don't have to really worry about the mechanics of your swing. I know your numbers are going to go up. I know it.
Yeah.
And so I win and you win. And I don't have to be worried about the classic definition of a good swing.
Yeah. Okay. How do you see the role of speed training evolving into the future?
Everybody's going to do it.
Hmm.
Everyone. It's already in professional golf, everyone speed trains.
Yeah.
Um, Some of them are very courageous and uninhibited about it. Others are worried that it's going to cause negative effects to their swing or their game. But everybody understands every level of competitive golf has a threshold. So you don't have to be the longest one out there, but you have to be long enough. So if you look at the last 2 seasons on the PGA Tour, the distance average is 300 yards. 84% of the tournaments on the PGA Tour have been won by golfers who are at 300 or more. So
Yeah, right.
tour average or longer. 16% are won by guys who are shorter than the average. Nobody wins at under 290, period.
Yeah. Well,
So what's the
so you can't
threshold?
deny the stats, can you?
No, you can't. Well, people will try to the ends of the earth to deny them because, that's how human beings are, especially adult males. They will stick to their narrative even if you put black and white evidence in front of them. They will stick to the narrative of it's all about putting, it's all about short game. Because if I say driver's the most important club, they hear he just said putting's not important.
Yeah.
He just said chipping's not important. That's not what I said, but statistically, it's a proven fact.
Yeah.
The greatest indicator of your scoring potential is how far you can hit the ball. That only makes sense if you're logical at all. The closer you are to the green, the more likely you are to hit it on the green.
Yep.
On the green, everybody is better than they are not on the green. I mean, it's everybody. And if you really look at the stats, and again, let's just go to tour players because they have the most stats available. Tour players are very similar once they're on the green. Yeah, some guys putt better than others, but the spread is not very great. But on the tee, there's a wide,
It's a huge variance.
yeah. So the driver is where you can make up the most ground, and approach shots are where you can make up the most ground. And guess what? So for every golfer of even reasonable competence, like just beyond beginners and novices, so take like, let's call it a 20 handicapper to a tour player. From 9 feet to 55 feet, the odds are that you will two putt, right? So everybody's kind of
Correct.
similar. Yes, tour players are better from 9 and 10 and 11, 12 feet for sure than you are or than a average golfer is. But
No, they're better
think
than me
about
too.
it. From 9 feet to 55 feet, the odds are that you're going to two putt. So what is your job? Your job is to get to that 9 to 55 foot area in as few strokes as you can.
Yep.
And then go ahead and take your two putts and just don't three putt,
It's
right?
I've had this chat multiple times with parents or, students over the years. I'd probably rather you be in the rough 40 meters further down with a wedge in your hand than being back, on the fairway with a 6 iron, because the
Mm-hmm.
odds are the wedge is still going to end up closer.
For
The
sure.
closer we are, yeah.
Every tour player knows this too. If
Yeah.
you say to a tour player, putting's the most important thing, they'll go, "You're delusional."
Yeah.
Right?
It
They,
used to
they
be,
don't
what was that saying?
know
Drive
it's
for show,
important.
putt for dough. It's swapped now, right?
Well, sort of, yeah. Like it's just not true. Because again, if you look at the stats, okay, if I show you the stats of the top 70 in driving distance versus the bottom 70, it's a vast difference in number of wins, number of top tens, and money won.
Yep.
It's huge. So now let's come down from the PGA Tour to other levels. So whatever is your peer group of handicap index, the biggest separator is still going to be your performance off the tee
Hmm.
and then your number of greens in regulation. Because think about this. So who's the best putter on the tour? Let's say it's Denny McCarthy. If you put myself and Denny McCarthy 30 feet away, the odds are we're both going to two putt.
Hmm.
Like, of course, he's better than me, but he's not tremendously better than me.
Yeah, it's almost
But
a level-ish playing field.
off the tee, a tour player is tremendously better than me.
Hmm. Makes
And
a lot of
I'll see
sense.
a tour player versus a mid handicapper. They're on in different universes. But again, put them between 9 and 55 feet. Yes, the tour player is better, but not like incredibly better because they're gonna two putt most of the time.
I love it. What advice would you give to parents or junior golfers or any golfer out there about integrating sort of speed into their development?
Well, so the parents of competitive juniors, they already know this.
Hmm.
They're coming in like they could bring you I've had this happen. They'll email you. Yeah, my kid is 6 years old and he's lagging behind the other kids and drive. Like, okay, he's six. Like, chill. Yeah. So, but they all know that distance matters tremendously. So
Hmm.
it's no problem getting them in and getting them on board. But the message that I will usually give to them is, look, relax. Okay, relax. Your kid doesn't have to be really good or great. At least in the United States, the first goal is, can you get a college scholarship? So you have until age 17 ish to really come into your own and demonstrate what kind of golfer you really are.
Yeah.
When you have an 8-year old or a 10-year old or a 12-year old or a 14-year old, you don't even know what you've got. You know what they are at this moment, but
Yeah.
the growth spurts and the ability to focus and the passion or lack thereof for the game, you can't judge them. So the goal is, can I keep this kid loving the game? And can we play the long game here, knowing that by age 17 is when this kid really needs to be good enough that college coaches are taking a serious look.
Hmm.
And so that is one challenge. I mean, Greg Rose used to say this all the time. Nobody cares who's the 10-year-old world champion. Now,
That's
that's
right.
actually not true because the parents of those 10-year-olds care a lot.
Oh, yeah.
They care tremendously and they care too much, really. So, again, the challenge is like, okay, you've got time here. This kid's 10, and right now he loves the game. I need him to still love the game by the time he's 17. And by the time he's 17, I need his club head speed at 115, 120, and his ball speed at 175, 180. And if he has that, he's going to get long and strong looks from college coaches
Yeah.
because that is the kind of speed now that they need.
It's a different world to when I went to college. Um, what
Very
traits
much.
or yeah, what traits or habits do you see in the best golfers that you've worked with, who achieve long-term success? Now, this is
Right.
not specifically a fitness related question. This could just be, what sort of mindset do they have on certain
This
topics?
is an absolutely easy one.
Yeah.
Okay. So, over 6 years in our gym, we've had 15 or 20 guys who won on the PGA Tour, win on the Champions Tour, maybe even have won majors. So, these are elite level golfers. They're usually Champions Tour at this time. But when these guys come in, at some point, I always ask, why are you so good? And they go, what? Like they're taken aback by the question. And I go,
Yeah.
why are you so good? How could you win in college? And then you won on the tour. And then you won two majors. And now you win on the Champions Tour. Like, why are you so good? The number of them that have talked about their swing is zero. They never talk about their swing. It's always some version of, because I can shoot a 71 when I'm hitting it like 76.
Yeah.
Or if I'm playing bad, I still know how to make the cut. I make the cut before I worry about anything else. Or it could be because I'm really good under pressure, that kind of thing. But
Yeah.
mostly it's I know how to get it around and I know how to get it in the hole. The best answer ever was Mark Brooks. So he won, I believe he won the PGA and he probably won 15 ish tournaments on the tour. So he said, everybody thinks it's about having your A game. And he goes, you can be out there for 30 years. You'll have your A game for a total of about 5 weeks.
Yeah.
everything is firing on all cylinders. And he goes, guess what? You still won't win.
Hmm.
You'll play great and come in third because some guy will make a couple 40 footers on the back nine. Or you'll play great and come in 10th because there's 9 guys in the field who are actually on their A game that week, whatever.
Yeah.
So he goes, so the key is don't shoot yourself out of it. Give yourself as many chances as you can to get to Sunday with a reasonable chance. And then every once in a while, the stars will align and you'll win. But you're out there against 143 other guys or 127 other guys. It's really hard to win a golf tournament,
Hmm.
right? That's why there's only like 3 or 4 guys in the history of golf that are on Mount Rushmore. Mount
Yeah.
Rushmore, you know, I mean, you've got Tiger and you've got Jack, and then you can come, you have Hogan, and you probably could put Gary Player in there with his record, but there's not many of them.
Hmm.
I mean, a great career would be 4 wins in
And they
what?
could be playing 500 events, 400 events. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's willpower, it's mental toughness, it's ability to handle um, adversity. That's what they talk about. They don't talk about their golf swing. Never.
Yeah. That's a fair,
Right.
very fair
So
point.
why is that not what we're teaching mostly? Why aren't we mostly teaching like how to be a how to be prepared, how to be a tough competitor, how to get it in the hole, how to make the cut, how not to shoot yourself out of it? Like, why is that not the main thrust of teaching? Because the best players will tell you that. And what's missing from the world of instruction is actually the advice from the best players.
Hmm.
And that makes sense because their job is to beat everyone. Their job is not to help everyone be better, right? Until their career is over, and then they can help if they want.
Yeah.
But during their career, their job is not to help you be better, it's to beat you.
Actually, I had O'Meara on here earlier this year, and one of the sort of traits that he had was when the headlights were pointing towards the golf course, it was all about him. And
Mm-hmm.
when the tail lights were pointing towards the golf course, so when he was leaving, he would help anyone else. But, I think they
Mm-hmm.
have to, I mean, he would be far from a selfish person, but they have to have that level of instinct in them that
Sure.
it's all about me while I'm doing my work.
Yeah. So, yeah. So
All right.
I learned a lot. Like in our gym, your countryman Mark Hensby trains at our gym.
Yep.
He has a key. He has a key to the gym. He comes whenever he wants. He
Yep.
designs all his own workouts. He's a workout animal. But I've learned so much from him just from conversations like this,
Yeah.
because a guy like that who came from nowhere and had to scratch and claw his way onto the PGA Tour, eventually won on the tour, played on the President's Cup, won on the Champions Tour. But when I met him, he had no status at all on the Champions Tour. Like they didn't want him out there. He had no status. And so he had to scratch and claw for that. And, so he's a good guy to talk to. Like,
He's got a great story.
yeah, like how did you do this? And so I've learned a lot, and a lot of it is mental toughness. And
Mm.
I don't know that you can teach that. I think these guys or gals, they build that within themselves according to experiences they have in their life that
Mm.
makes them tougher. And also, some people just have an innate characteristic that they want to win, and they
Yeah, they
will
want the ball. I've referenced this on this podcast. If they're on a football team or they want that final 5 seconds to score, I guess, a touchdown for you guys, a try for us, or a goal in soccer, like there's certain people that will shy away from that, and
hmm
other people that will just take it and run with it. They want it. That's what they want to do. That's what they were born for.
yeah, and so those characteristics, and again, the opportunity to talk to people who are in that position and make a living from the game and are at that level, they're the ones you learn the most from.
Yeah.
So I can say whatever I want, and instructors can say whatever they want. Everybody's trying to do their best. But those are actually the people that if you get a chance to talk to them, you've got to
Mm.
take that chance because they will tell you the real deal. They'll tell you what it really takes.
Yeah.
And then again, it's like I say, it makes you wonder, well, why isn't this what we're
Is
focused on?
coached.
I
Yeah.
know that some coaches focus on that,
Yeah.
but the,
For
the
all,
the swing mechanics are so predominant in the game, and it's not the most important thing.
for everyone listening, episode 44, we had Mark Hensby a year ago on. He was a good listen. You can go back and listen to that one when we're done here. Um, all right, just before we wrap up, we were just talking about the history. Is there any player from the past that you would love to have, you might see their movement and go, wow, if he had to use my system, he would have had 20 majors?
Well, I think because I don't analyze swings that much, that wouldn't be my train of thought.
Yeah.
Um, but there are and have been players on the tour that I'd be like, wow, if you had 20 more yards with the rest of your skill set, you would really kick some ass.
Yeah, okay.
Um, the player that I wish I had met, this the player that I think is the coolest golfer ever is Lorena Ochoa.
Yeah, okay.
I just thought that she was the bomb, that she was the total representation of what the game is all about. The fiery competitiveness, but just like a great person, and went out of the game at the absolute top of her game, which never
Hmm.
happens.
Yeah,
You know,
okay.
so if there was ever anyone I would have just loved to have met and not even to work with them, that would be who I would pick.
Yeah, okay. Last one. Any unique or unexpected insights that you've learnt about golf or life or fitness through your career?
Yeah, just that golfers will cling to their narrative tenaciously,
Yeah.
and it's it's not always that easy to show them something that you know is going to work if they're not open minded to it.
Hmm.
But fortunately for us, what I do know is if they come in that door and give it one shot, they are going to go up. They are going to get faster right then and there because again, they already have it in them. All
Yeah.
I got to do is show them how to find it, and it's going to work 99.9% of the time. So
Yeah.
I'm just so confident in my system because I've seen it work so many times.
All right. So thank you for coming on. How can the listeners find out more about your system or even purchase something to help get on their speed training journey?
Yeah, our website is mach3speedtraining.com. So MACH and then the numeral 3, mach3speedtraining.com. That'll show you all of our training tools. And also, what happens is anyone who buys tools from us, within 12 hours, they'll receive instructional videos and also PDFs that have workout protocols on them. Next year, we're actually gonna expand greatly, and we're gonna have an app next year that has all of the protocols on it. But mainly, go to the website on YouTube, Mach 3 Speed Training, also, and yeah, that would be where to start.
Thank you so much for coming on, mate.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.